Hello everyone and welcome to another Monday Mindset Motivation. Today I want to talk to you about the importance of setting standards for yourself, and even more important is you're making the decision to live by those standards. It is not about what you say. It's not about telling people that you have high standards, because people are supposed to see that. Your standards are supposed to be exemplified by your actions. And people tend to emulate persons who have a stellar output. People tend to emulate persons they can look up to. So you have to set some standards for your life so that you can live by those standards. And one of the things that you realize is that when you don't have any standards for yourself, you begin to live in other people's shadow. And it is because of the lack of setting standards sometimes why we wind up comparing ourselves to others, because we do not have a mantra that we live by. We do not have a set of guidelines or rules that we have decided consciously that those are going to govern our lives and our actions, and as such we tend to look to other people for how we should behave. What some people don't realize is that we're all born leaders. There's a saying that leaders are born and they're not made. Well, that is true because we were all born, right? But we have innate leadership qualities, and we just need to hone and develop those qualities. We are all born leaders, so you don't necessarily have to look to someone else to decide how you're going to live your life. When you have no standards for yourself, you're going to wind up living in another person's shadow, and that's why it is said that if you don't have any specific guidelines for your life, you're going to wind up somewhere anyway. And if you don't have any rules to live by, life is just going to take you wherever it takes you. And many times you're going to wind up not feeling gratified because it is not what you want. You can decipher what you want through a process of elimination. That is, you can decide what you want by eliminating the things that you do not want, eliminating the things that you do not like, eliminating the things that you do not think help to make you a better person. So today there are 4 points I really want to focus on as I speak to you about standards. And the first one is the importance of decision. The second point is the importance of taking actions. Thirdly, I want to talk to you about the impact of disappointing yourself as against disappointing others. And finally, I want to talk to you about the importance of prioritizing and how when you set standards for yourself, it is important for you to practice what you preach. So for those persons who are jumping on now, or for those who will join later, again, the discussion is about the importance of setting standards and living by those standards. And I'll be focusing on why it is imperative that you make decisions, that you decide to act, why it is important that you take action, and I will also be juxtaposing the implication of disappointing yourself as against disappointing others. And finally, I will be focusing on why it is imperative that you practice what you preach. So the first thing is decision. Now, on the face of it, it sounds like something cliche, like, why are you talking about decision? Everybody make decisions every day. And that is true. But what I'm talking about is a conscious decision to take a certain step in your life. So you need to decide that you are going to do something to get to the next level. This has to be a conscious decision. It has to be a deliberate decision. Otherwise, whenever things get difficult, you are going to be quick to detour or to abandon the journey altogether. So you have to decide to act. And one of the things that really propels an individual to decide is when you know what you want. And last week I would have touched on that a little bit. You need to know what you want, because if you do not know what you want, you will accept anything. So you first have to decide what it is that you want. I remember I was listening to, I believe it was T.D. Jakes, and he was saying that when you get a vision, which we talked about vision last week, the vision comes from God. So your purpose comes from God. In the book of Proverbs, it says, many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the purpose of God that prevails. So you can have plans, but if you're not living or making plans according to the purpose that God made for you, you're going to find that you become frustrated all the time. So first of all, the starting point is really to decide what is your purpose. And you kind of know that when there is this idea that is in your heart that just won't go away. That is really your superconscious mind speaking to you and telling you that this is the path, this is the trajectory that you are supposed to take. So that's how you kind of narrow it down and get a good idea as to what it is that you should spend the rest of your life doing. Once you know what your purpose is, then you can now begin to come up with a plan of action. So once you have decided what your purpose is, and you know what is your purpose, because if the thing that you feel led to do is only going to benefit you, that is not your purpose. Why? Because we all came here to serve. All of us came here with a purpose to serve others. So if the thing that you have the biggest inclination to do is only going to benefit you, then that is not your purpose. It might be part and parcel of it, because ultimately you should benefit from your purpose, but ultimately other people should also benefit. It is the aim of it really is to serve other people. So whether it is a business idea, obviously if it's a business idea that's going to help individuals, you're either going to employ persons if you become an entrepreneur, or the services that you offer will benefit people. So that could be an indication that you are on the right path. So once you have decided what it is that you are supposed to spend your life doing, that is what is your purpose, then you have to decide now to take action to realize that purpose. And you decide to do that by first sitting down, writing down what it is that you're going to do, the different steps, the different people you're going to consult, the different research areas or avenues that you're going to take. And you're just going to basically come up with a plan of action. But it is not enough to just come up with a plan of action and leave it there and say, let life take its course, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And 9 times out of 10, that course is not going to be suitable for you, and you're not going to be happy or fulfilled because of the course, because life will just throw you anywhere and you will not feel fulfilled because you feel out of control. And human beings have that inherent need to feel like they have things under control somewhat. So once you have decided to act and you're now ready to take action, what you have to do now is to make sure that your actions are deliberate and focused, and that you accept that along the way you're going to face some tough times, you're going to face adversity, you're going to fail, but you will keep on the path because you know what your end goal is. Having decided what your purpose is, you know what it is that you want, where you're going, and as such, because your action is not just action but inspired action, you will not necessarily give up when things get rough for you. The third point I want to touch on, guys, is really you want to think about, consciously think about who it is that you're disappointing. Is it yourself or is it other people? And how important is that to you? You see, many times we put our dreams on hold because we are afraid of disappointing other people. Most of the times those people are individuals who play an integral role in our lives, like our parents or guardians or peers, or just people we look up to in general. We don't want to disappoint them. So we tend to think, you know what, I'll get to my problem, or I'll get to my goals later, but right now I'm just going to do this to please this person. You see, the thing is that I cannot support that position. I've done it before, and that's probably why one could argue that I'm starting late. I don't feel like it's late, I feel like it's timely. But I could have started before, except that I was looking at the fact that there were people who helped me so much growing up and helped me so much on my journey that I could not disappoint them. So I needed to do things that they would find appeasing. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that in developing yourself and investing in yourself and realizing your dream, the very people that you're trying to avoid displeasing or disappointing, they will be happy for you. Because if they genuinely love you and care about your well-being and your uplift, they will be happy for you no matter what decision you make, as long as you are investing in and developing yourself. So when you think about juxtaposing disappointing yourself against disappointing other people, you need to really try to ascertain in your mind where you stand. It is sort of a spectrum. You're over here and the other person is here, and then there's that middle ground. So I guess it calls into play some sort of, what's the word that I'm looking for? It calls into play some sort of compromise. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Because at the end of the day, you can actually make yourself happy and still make the other person happy. Because like I said, if it is that that person believes in your dream and that person wants to see you live a fulfilled life, even if the dream and the desire they had for you is not the one that you take, they will still be happy for you. And those who are not happy for you, when you choose a path that is aligned to your purpose, you did not need them anyway. And at the end of it, you will find that it was just a distraction that you wanted to ensure that you did not disappoint those persons, because at the end of the day, they didn't really care about you, and they were not really genuine, authentic friends or family or supporters. So the final point that I want to talk about today is why you should practice what you preach. Going around and telling other people that you have high standards. It's all good and well, but you can say it, and if you're not living it, people will not take you seriously. At first, they may think, oh, this is one to watch. This is somebody who knows the importance of having standards. But over time, as they're watching you, they will realize that you're not really living a purposeful life. And so it will really appear to them as just talk. And essentially, if you're not taking inspired action and you're saying that you have standards without doing anything, that's what it will just be. It will just be talk, and talk is cheap. So you have to make a concerted effort to practice what you preach. And without even uttering a word, people will see from your actions that you have a purpose, that you're leading a purpose-driven life. And that is the most important thing, guys. Whatever you do on a daily basis, even if it is small things, should be something that contributes to your big purpose. And one of the things I want you to think about as you set these standards and make a conscious effort and deliberate effort to live by them, I want you to think about the implication of overwhelm. Because sometimes when you get the big vision, like we spoke about vision last week, we tend to become overwhelmed as life happens. Why? Because you have all these things dealing with. You're dealing with just the functional prerequisites of life, you know, ensuring that you have a roof over your head, ensuring that your family is fed and taken care of if you have a family, ensuring that you have a job so that your bills can be paid. And then on top of that, you may have a full-time job, a 40-hour work week, and on top of that, because you know it is not what you want to spend the rest of your life doing, you also realize that you have to make some drastic changes and take steps, albeit incremental step, toward your big dream. And as such, it is inevitable that you are going to face some difficulties, you're going to be overwhelmed. But you have to dig deep within yourself and find that indomitable resolve that is within you, and focus that and channel your energy through that to ensure that you hold strong. How do I know that you have this quality? Because the good book says that we are born in the image and likeness of God. And God, as we know, is omnipotent, omnipresent, and is a God who is able to carry out his will. And he has promised us that we are supposed to be, we're royalties. And what you know about royalties is that you're treated with respect, you live a full life, and you can serve others. And like the Bible says, the greatest among us shall be our servants. So as you look to see what your calling is and in what capacity you're going to serve the people you are called to serve, always remember that you have to have some standards to live by, because there are people already, even before you get to that zenith, there are people who are watching you, and people who are, they see you as the epitome of what they want to be. So even though you're not going to deflect by being distracted by the eyes or the unseen eyes that are watching you, you still have to be cognizant of the fact that people are looking up to you. There are some young girls or some young men outside looking up to you and hoping to be like you. And so when you start living a life without purpose, they will notice, and they will begin to think that that's how their life is going to be all the time. So it is important for you to decide to take action, for you to take deliberate, determined action, for you to look more at, focusing more at not disappointing yourself because you're taking inspired action. And finally, you need to practice what you preach. It is not enough for me to stand here today and say, set standards, but I'm not setting any standard for myself. Because then that's not authentic. I would be here fooling you. So I have to set some standards, and as I do that, I have to share with you how that is helping me and how that makes me feel more aligned with my goal, how that keeps me on track even when things get difficult. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you got some value from what was shared here today. Remember, every single Monday I share in the Monday Mindset Motivation. Whatever is laid on my heart to speak about, that's what I talk about today. For those who are just joining, or for those who will join later, the topic was the importance of setting standards for yourself, and even more important, to live by those standards. And I focused on why you should make decisions to act, why you should take inspired action, why you should favor not disappointing yourself as opposed to not disappointing others, and finally, why you should practice what you preach, why you should exemplify the standards that you set. In the book of Matthew, it says that you should, in the book of Matthew chapter 7, it says that you will know a tree by the fruit that it bears. People will know who you are. People will know that you are living a fulfilled and uplifting life just because of the power that you exude. And even before you open your mouth, people will know who you are, and people will know that you stand for something. When you walk into a room, people will notice you because your greatness is protruding from within, even before you open your mouth. And that comes from you making the deliberate, conscious effort to take inspired action, to decide to act, to fulfill your purpose so that you can walk in the way of the Lord, so that you can help other people, so that you can inspire other people to act as well, and so that you can remind other people that it is not impossible for them, because nothing at all is impossible. And you know, someone sent me something this week that I want to share with you. It is sort of a digression, but I want to share it. There was a lady, and she was complaining to her mother that life is so hard and she cannot deal with the difficulties of her job and things like that. So her mother, without saying a word, she took up 3 pots. And in one pot, she placed some eggs. In another pot, she placed some coffee beans. And in the third pot, she placed some carrots. And she put them on the stove. She lit the stove and put them to boil. After some time, maybe 15-20 minutes, she took them off. And then she called her daughter and she said, I want you to test each one of them and tell me what you have found. So the daughter took out the carrots and she said, wow, they're really soft. And she liked that. And her mother said, okay. So then she took out the eggs and she realized that they were hard boiled. They were hard. You know, when you boil eggs, they become hard. And then she went to the coffee and she noticed that the water turned black. So she poured some in a cup and she tasted it and she just liked the rich aroma. And her mother was asking her, what does that mean? But she didn't understand. She said, Mom, why are you showing me this? So her mother said, notice, all 3 ingredients were exposed to the same conditions, that is the hot water, but all of them reacted differently. The carrots, when it faced the heat of the water, it basically buckled under the pressure and it got soft. The egg, which is usually fragile and liquid on the inside, just protected by a thin shell, when it was put in the hot water, in the boiling water, it became hard. But the coffee bean was the one that was most outstanding, because when it was placed in the water, the coffee bean itself remained hard. But what was even more striking was the fact that the coffee changed the water. That it changed the water to black, and the aroma and every essence of the coffee came out in the water. And the significance of that is when you apply that anecdote to your real life, you realize that your circumstances, they do not have to determine how you live your life. Your circumstances do not determine who you are. So, you know, even though we understand that this is in context and this is food and that is what was meant to be done for us to consume it, but applying that to life, you can look at the fact that some people, like the carrot, when they're faced with adverse circumstances, they tend to just buckle under the pressure and give up. While other people, when they're faced with adversity like the eggs, they become tough on the outside. They become tough on the inside, and they basically desensitize, and that's not good either, because it means that they're hardened, but they're not dealing with the situation because they're not expressing the necessary emotion. But the most striking situation is the coffee beans. They were exposed to the same 100 degrees temperature like the other elements, but they changed the nature of the water. And you can look at the water as the circumstances that you're facing right now. You can change your circumstances. If you don't like the circumstances that you are facing in your life, you go out and look for the ones that are more favorable. If you cannot find them, you create them. There are some people who they will say they make something out of nothing. You can do that too. There is nothing that any great man has done that you cannot do. There is nothing that you have done before that you cannot do greater than that, because you can always better your best. And where you are now does not have to determine where you wind up in your life. Where you started does not have to determine where you wind up. I always say that your starting point doesn't have to determine how you end your life. You have to, what basically should motivate you is how much you want to get out of the starting blocks. That should motivate you to decide to take deliberate action that will get you out of those circumstances. And once you have decided, it is not enough to stop there. Last week, a friend of mine posted on social media that dreams are just dreams and nothing more. And I had to tell her that, listen, you might be going through something right now, but that is not the case. Dreams are only dreams if you don't act on them. If you have a big dream to do something and you keep saying, I want to do that, or I hope to do that, it is never going to happen. Because even the Bible does not tell you to live your life based on hope, but based on faith. Because you can hope from now till tomorrow, unless you take some action, nothing will happen. But when you take action, that is the most outstanding depiction of faith. Why? Because you have a goal, it has not yet happened, but you trust and believe that through the actions that you're taking, you're going to realize that goal. That is faith. That is faith. You taking a step and doing something now, not knowing for sure how it's going to turn out, that is a stellar depiction of what faith entails. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind you, as you go through the rest of the week, ask yourself the question, what standards am I living by? And if you're not satisfied with the answer that you get, make a decision today to set some standard for your life. Set a vision for your life. Set a mantra that you're going to live by. It doesn't have to be anything profound, just something that pleases you and something that gives you some sort of scope as it relates to your life. And for those who are just joining or those who will join later, I would encourage you to go back and watch from the beginning. Today we discussed the importance of setting standards and living by those standards. And we delved a little bit into why you should decide to act, why you should make a deliberate, determined effort to take inspired action, why you should favor not disappointing yourself, as again, not disappointing other people, and finally, why you should practice what you preach. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to follow me on Instagram at SKB Renaissance Woman, and also you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's my name, Shauna-Kaye Brown. Guys, before I go, I have to remind you, I'm so excited. As the days count down, I become more and more excited. In the first week of August, the anthology which I'm a part of with 37 other authors and entrepreneurs and coaches from around the world, it will be available for sale. It will be on Amazon.com, and I trust and believe that it will be a bestseller. I had that on my vision board since last year, even before I knew I was going to be writing any book or be a part of any book, and now it has become a reality. It just goes to show that when you decide that you're going to take a step, and you start making moves, you start taking some action, even if they're small steps toward your big goal, it can happen. But you have to believe it. And that's what I did. I believed that some way, somehow, I was going to become an Amazon bestseller. And I know, even before the anthology comes out, that this book is going to be a world changer. So guys, look out for the book. I know that you guys will support, and you're going to be so surprised when you see that the launching day, the price that the book will be sold for on the launch date. I will tell you more about it in the next few weeks, but it will be available in the first week of August. Again, it's an anthology, and I will be featured in it along with 37 other entrepreneurs and coaches from around the world. Thank you all for joining. If there are any questions or comments, I will get to them as soon as I end this broadcast. Until next time, I will see you soon, and have yourselves a great day and a great week. Thank you.